Well, today students are entering a different workforce than their parents did. Jobs that once existed now don't, while others have taken their place. And that's created something called a skills gap, the difference between what we need and what we have when it comes to our workforce. Oklahoma Works is a governor's initiative to close that gap, and our Blane Singletary attended this year's Oklahoma Works Summit.
Rob, the tone at the summit was optimistic, but there was also a sense of urgency. Some big changes need to be made in state education as well as business, but changes that some have already embraced. The focus of this gathering at the Cox Convention Center in Oklahoma City is on making students job ready by graduation and strengthening the economy in the process.
First and foremost, it's making a connection between, in effect, the providers of the education and the users of the education.
Richard Laine is an education consultant and keynote speaker at this summit.
And if we don't have common language, common expectations, education may prepare kids at a lower level or not in the right skill sets.
Educators and employers can sometimes seem to be speaking different languages, and that's where a lot of these disconnects come from. While schools have been good at teaching students reading, writing, and arithmetic, businesses need a little bit more than that.
It's not just they can do the basics, but they can use those skills to solve problems. They can find new information. They can redefine a problem, and so that they can get creative about different kinds of solutions.
Most employers aren't looking for robots who can perform repetitive tasks. In fact, taking a look at Oklahoma's top 10 highest-paying critical jobs, almost all of which are in the STEM fields, it's clear that now, more than ever, they need people who can use critical thinking on whatever situation is thrown at them. It's projected that thousands of jobs in these fields will be open, in addition to the ones already available, in the next decade. Governor Fallin highlighted this growing need in our state.
As you can see, there are jobs available in Oklahoma that are high-wage jobs, that are good jobs, that are critical to our economic growth, and ones we must be prepared to have educated and skilled people to take those jobs in.
And the time to start preparing kids for these jobs isn't when they're getting ready for college. That time is now, while those kids are still infants. Again, Richard Laine.
We need to be asking the question, what are we doing for the youngest children to make sure that they're well prepared?
A knowledge gap today can become part of a growing skills gap tomorrow.
And so if we don't start early, trying to play catch up later is near impossible. We need to have high expectations. I truly believe they will rise to or lower to the expectations we set for them. So if we don't set the bar high, we shouldn't be surprised when kids don't rise to the level of the challenge ahead of them.
And from what many here today have said, that challenge comes from putting them in STEM classes that challenge them to think critically, something that Greg Winters is very familiar with.
It's the key ingredient. At Canadian Valley Technology Center, where I'm superintendent, we consider business and industry to be our primary customer. Our students are a product.
And if there's one thing about the future you can bank on, it's that all of this product will go to market.
At the end of the day, whether you're in higher ed, career tech, K-12 education, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the one common thread that we have in education is that all of our students eventually go to work, and they go to work for business. And so it has to be a natural link.
But what we don't know is how this new generation of workers will meld with the current one.
This millennial generation, they approach their day-to-day life, they approach their career opportunities a whole lot differently than my generation. You have baby boomers still running industry, and they expect out of their employees the work ethic that we've always had. That is a tough bridge to gap.
So that means a good helping of soft skills will need to be taught alongside the job training. It's not just about knowing how to do the job, but how to do it professionally.
Get up early, arrive early, stay late, do whatever it is you need to do. Stability in the job.
Students have a lot to learn, but so do our schools and businesses. And that's why all of these leaders in their respective fields are here to discuss exactly how to move forward with not only the success of Oklahoma's kids, but the success of Oklahoma's economy.
We need to be asking the question, what is it that we're doing as our children's first teacher to really start to say, how do we help our child? And in doing that, how do we partner with our teachers in our school to make sure they're on track to be successful?
There was a lot of ground covered at the Oklahoma Work Summit. We have links to the presentations and more from that day on our website, okhorizon.com.
And that is where we also have my conversation with Governor Fallin about the impact the skills gap is having on our economy, as well as the skills gap primer, all streaming under our value-added section.